If you enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. It'll make me the most happiest little boy in the world. So after my previous video on the beta version of City 17, I came to realize that I missed a few maps. I only showed you the 2001 maps, but I didn't know the same style was also used in the 2001-2002 maps as well. I did not check those maps out, and they were left out from the last video. So, to right my wrongs, I'm going to show you the maps I missed. You may recognize some of these, and you'll also see a few new ones. So, let's get back to Beta City 17. Map 1 Revision 17 is kind of the first map we looked in the last video, but right off the bat you can notice how sky textures and map lighting have changed drastically. It looks more like the retail version now. Like I said in the previous video, around 2002 was when they decided to shift the location from an American city to a European city. And with that, changes came which basically scrapped the whole gritty dark atmosphere. It's not that prominent in this map, but later on you'll see buildings with European architecture plopped around the map. So this is basically what we've already seen, just brighter and a bit more expanded. Same map, Revision 30. Basically the same thing, but this time there are these doors that stop you from going further. Then I noticed that if you stand here, the sewer gates will open. There is a bit of a path that you can follow and look at what I assume are Vartigons, and then it's a dead end. I got stuck here, so I loaded up the next revision. Same map, Revision 74. After the 30th, it's the 74th revision. I can't find the other one, so we'll have to do with the major jump. However, this major leap in revisions does show progress, like this train that goes into what I assume is a train station. The gates that stopped me earlier were relocated a bit farther, and this, thank God they dropped this plot point. I tried the sewer gate again and they opened up, but this time around there's actually a path that leads you somewhere. That pre-baked lighting though, I adore that classic aesthetic. In case you don't know, pre-baking is a method of putting in pre-generated lights and shadows in your map. It saves a lot of computing resources. I ended up in a decrepit apartment building, all torn up and in an abysmal state. This led me back to the outside, so I have no idea what that whole trip was about. When we go into this alley, that's where we see the big part of the map. It's the Stenographers Chasm. If you don't know, stenographers are people whose job is to write down speech or text in shorthand writing. It's a unique skill to have. Anyway, look at this scene. The sun rays coming from the windows add to the mood, but this is different now. It's not the same dark and terrifying world we saw earlier. It's a brighter world, but still under authoritarian rule. More like the retail version. From there I got to these pathways and saw a room where stalkers were doing something that I would not like to know. And this is basically the end of the map. This tunnel would lead us to the next map. Map 4 Revision 33. It's that central part of the city that I showed in the last video. Again, the lighting and textures are different this time. The sky is brighter and the textures on the buildings are much more cleaner. Not much else changed as far as I saw. Same map, Revision 38. It's the same thing. I don't know what's different in this one. After seeing so many maps for these videos, I'm not able to keep track of the little details that change in each revision. Map 5 Revision 6. I showed a bit of this map last time because it's not that interesting. It's all about this building referred to as the Manhack Arcade. We see Barney here and a couple of citizens. The Manhack Arcade has an absurd and silly story to it. Maybe I'll do a video on that later. So this is Plaza 01. It's basically an updated version of the first map we saw in the last video and this video. It kind of resembles the area that we see in the retail game, the area that we see the moment we step outside of the train station. The station is here too, but it's not the main attraction of this map. The rest of the map is similar to map 01, but with updated buildings, textures and lighting. This map kind of feels like where they must have decided to change the American aesthetic to a European one, because I saw some buildings that look similar to the ones we have in retail. The rest we've already seen, but this revision is a highly polished one nonetheless. So this is a new map. This one's called C17_Road 1. We didn't see this in the 2001 beta. At first I wasn't sure what this map was supposed to be because it felt unfinished. That's when I took a step back and saw that the actual map was right next to where I was. It's basically the city streets, narrow roads with residential and commercial buildings. Seems like a city block you'd see in an average city. This is where I felt the most different vibes from retail. This has America written all over it, but the proportion of these roads seem off to me. They're a bit too small. Good map though. In this revision I couldn't tell what this map would have been used for, but that I understood in the next revision of this map. Road 06 is the 6th revision of this map. It starts off with Gordon in a bus or some other sort of vehicle moving by itself. I'm guessing this would have been a car chase sequence because I can visualize Alex or Barney driving this thing while Gordon shoots out the window at the combine. It starts off in a tunnel, goes through a couple of the streets and then back into another tunnel, and that's where the map ends. This was very interesting because I don't recall if Retail Half-Life 2 had a chase sequence or not. I got out of the vehicle to see the map for myself. It's similar to Road 01 but just with more polish. I don't know, but I kept thinking about CS Assault from Counter-Strike when I was looking at this map. Maybe it's some of the buildings or the starting area that looks a bit industrial. Really enjoyed looking at this map, very different from what we've been seeing. This one is called Ruins 02. It's just an unfinished map. There's not a lot to see here. What I'm guessing is that they were testing out the ruined models of the walls and buildings. Maybe for a chapter like Anti-Citizen 1, where we are fighting the Combine alongside the Resistance. Maybe this is a precursor to that. There's a missile launcher here for some reason. It shoots missiles at those road signs. So every map we've looked at so far had the C17_ prefix in its name. But this next one is called City 17_, specifically City 17_01_03. I saw a similar map in the 2001 beta. I think this one is the oldest out of the bunch because it's just a bunch of narrow alleyways with nothing to do or see, just a test map. And there you have it. That's all of the scrap City 17. If I haven't missed anything else, that is. This was the city that never was, that we saw in Fragments, and that we'll never get. I'll still say that I would have loved this style and design in some other game of the time, but not in Half-Life 2. What they were doing was amazing, but it just wasn't meant to brandish the Half-Life name. Beta or leaked versions like these for any game is very interesting to experience. I sometimes think how different our timeline would be if this was the version we got in retail. Thank you for watching.